The real story behind community.themakerdad.com is the parts that, didn't make the announcement post and the trials and tribulations of trying to set up this new endeavor to go along with the makerdad.com is something that we're going to talk about tonight on tonight's episode. So let's actually get into the nit and gritty. Is it the nit and gritty or the meat and potatoes, as it were? So let's actually backtrack a little bit. When I started up the makerdad.com and this whole, thing that I've been doing for the past couple months, I wanted to actually have a spot or a section within the website, or at least part of the whole experience is where, a community to grow, where other people, like-minded individuals like creators and makers and anyone who is interested in the woodworking, arts and crafts, whatever kind of maker space, can come together and kind of share their experiences, their knowledge, and so be part of a good community that would be starting up and just getting started. The issue was trying to come up with a way to integrate that into the website as a whole. Now, I had looked at a couple different things. One of them was different software, forum software. There is Zenforo, Invision Community, there's Discourse, NodeBB, there's, I already said Zenforo, there's like SMF, there's platforms like Circle and Mighty Networks and School. And I was trying to find a place that, didn't cost an arm and a leg for a community that really has no one there yet and is just getting started. And I didn't want to get into a predicament where I'm being paid, or I'm paying like $100 a month for, let's say, for like a Mighty Networks community or a Circle community. And it's something that for a year be paying like $1,200, yeah, roughly about that, for the next year, and nothing is happening. There's no one there, and that's one of the things I was kept wrestling about. Is, should I even start this? What platform? Should I start it on a forum? I want a little bit more than just a forum. So I had settled on using Invision Community. Now, I already had an active license for it, and the web hosting was already paid for the year. And I was like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and let's use this and see what we can set up. So let me actually show you what I'm talking about here. Just share my screen. So this is like the main page that you come into. I don't have the link up on the main site yet, but you can get to it at community.themakerdad.com. And I wanted a place that was not really like a mere copy of the main site, but more in effect of its own thing, along with the community aspect. So I had set it up. I'm using Invision Community because, like I said, I already had a license to it, and it was just sitting there. So I'm like, might as well, right? Let's see what we can come up with. And I set up they have a plugin, or it's part of the whole system. It comes with like a blog, article system, downloads, a gallery, forums, commerce, and there's like one or two extra things. But anyways, the main point is that I wanted to have a section here for that brings in not just, like I said, a mirror copy of what is on the main site, but is kind of like a retelling and it includes also, it automatically posts a thread in the forums. So it's kind of like it pulls in the person into the comment section, and if they want to make a comment, then they can. So I have the pages set up that I already copied and pasted. Quick, quick and dirty, what it looks like. So then you also have your forums here. So you have your different categories. It's just your typical forum. I'm still going through and setting this up, but if you go back to from the shop floor, which I renamed the article section. So if you go into this particular article, you get the quick summarization. It's just a rewrite with a link back to the main site. So if I click on that and go back to the main site, and also ask a question to help encourage community interaction with this particular post. So if you want to create a comment, what would happen is after you create a comment, it'll show up in the thread that's already made here. It'll show up here. So it uses the forum as a comment system. And I know with Ghost you can do that as well, but it's kind of like it's separate but the same. I know that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but anyways, that was my theory of setting up this community and just getting it started. That's really didn't want to do that, so I'll go ahead and stop sharing there. So it was trying to figure out the system to figure out what I wanted to use. That was one battle that I was going through and trying to figure out what should I use. Because I know with Discourse, you can set it up as a commenting system within Ghost. But I wasn't too. Let me backtrack. I'm impressed with Discourse, but I kind of didn't want to go through that whole process because I wanted a system that I can set up a Patreon type of system for subscriptions, and also for selling digital plans. I can do that within Invision Community. I can set it up to kind of replace the Patreon site I have going currently. I know I haven't mentioned it or really advertised it as a whole. I just wanted something that would take place of the Patreon and fourth wall. So I didn't want to deal with, the main site, Patreon, and fourth wall as like three separate systems. I wanted to kind of like condense it into one place where your community, the shop, and subscriptions or membership, I should say, and the community. I already said that. So one thing I wanted to do, why now? So like I said, because I want to condense everything into one place with Ghost staying as the main SEO hub, because Ghost is actually really good of doing your SEO and making sure that whatever you're posting in your blog posts and newsletters and stuff like that is out there, that can be crawled by search engines, which I'm sorry, but there's no more really search engines. They're all AI engines. So yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. But anyways, it's like I said, it's going to eventually take the place of a fourth wall and Patreon and storefront and memberships, and it wants to keep everything in line in one particular spot. Reason why I chose Invision Community, because it has those capabilities built into the software itself. Reason why I don't want to go with like Zenforo, because Zenforo is a great forum software, but if you want anything like commerce or anything else, you have to pay for the plugins, and that's just another thing that you have to install. And Invision Community, it's all built in. It's the core functionality of all this stuff is built into the main suite of the software. And the same thing is like, this is the structure for the forums is having to go through all of this, uh, figuring out what categories, the different sections inside the categories. And that was, I was like weeks of trying to figure out what was the best way of going about this and getting it taken care of. Um, that's really the part that really, if you haven't done this, no one really sees it, because there's a lot of thinking and planning and a lot of A and B testing of trying to figure out what works and what looks great, and pretty much it's always going to be a work in progress. You have it set up how you want it for the next 6 months or a year, but down the line, if when you have people coming in and the community starts growing, it's going to start expanding to include sections for one particular niche of topics. That, let's say, people are talking about power tools, for example. So, and it starts to overtake a section that you started out with. So you kind of say, all right, all this discussion can go into its own category or its own section, and it can live there and kind of freeze out uh, the whole niche being just this one section is only for this one place, and getting kind of overwhelmed with power tool discussion when other people want to talk about something else in that one particular section. So it's kind of, like I said, it's always a work in progress. It's a dynamic system that you just have to keep an eye on. And if, like I said, if one section is growing, it's great. If another section is not as doing as well, then you can go ahead and merge it into something else or close it down, and until interest builds back up into that particular section. But it's just something that you have to just deal with. So that's the actual work in of itself, is trying to figure out what to start out with. And it took a while, and I have it where it is now. There's a couple sections that I'll probably hide for now, because it was the store and the one section, I forget, store, Q&A, and member feedback and suggestions. For right now, that has now have nothing in there, so I'll probably set that up to be hidden for now. It's just there for just as a not like a placeholder, but it's just there. So as you saw, I had the from the shop floor. That is a section, like I said, I wanted to have kind of like a landing spot, as it were. So, people can come here and say, oh, these are different articles, because I didn't want to leave it generic just to have articles. I wanted to actually have a title. And, it's part of, the good enough mantra that I've been trying to cultivate. Kind of like, with the newsletter, good enough, it's good enough. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. It's just going to be, there. Hey, Retro Grains. How's it going? So that's the reason why I titled it is From the Shop Floor, because it takes the main articles from the main page, and like I said, it's reworded to not be a carbon copy of the main, because it kind of would screw up the SEO of the main site, and that's why I don't want it to happen. Going through my notes here is almost breaking it. The time and doubt of trying to figure out, is this the right path currently? That's what I kept struggling with for quite some time, is trying to figure out, is this the right time to start up the forums and the community side of the MakerDad aspect. And truthfully, it's probably not a good time, but it's there. It's something that I can have in place that I can add to as I continue to create these videos and take the transcripts and turn them into blog posts and other stuff, and just repurposing the content. Instead of 6 months from now, when having a community grown to like a couple people and getting some conversation started, and then having to go through this whole process in the future, it's kind of already did the work, so it's there, it's ready to go. So as you see, it's there. What I'll do is I'll have a link in the main page that goes to this community, and it's just something that it's going to be there that I'm going to constantly have as an option for people who want to join in and start discussions and learn about different things. It's just not going to be me, hopefully, in coming months of being growing, blossoming flower, as it were. So yeah. So as it were, it's community.themakerdad.com. That's where it's going to be living until the end of time. So I wanted to, like I said, I just wanted to spend some time on this episode to, just stretch out the community building aspect of learning this stuff and doing it from the ground up. And reason why I wanted to use Invision Community instead of like Mighty Networks or Circle is because I already had a license for it. And when you look at it, it's cheaper in the long run. Instead of spending $100 a month, I'm paying like maybe $15, $20. I think math is not my strong suit, but hey, whatever. So, and the reason why I want to do this is because I wanted to have a place for a community instead of just the blog and the video side of things and the live streaming. So that's the reason why I did this whole endeavor, was to get it out there and do the work. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and I can close it out. But that's a future time, from like 6 months to a year from now. And if it's still no one is using it, then at that time I'll make that choice. But for now, it's there for people to enjoy. So if you enjoyed this episode, do leave a like and subscribe and a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever podcast player of choice that you might enjoy. Until then, later, taters.